Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube. This big pile of rubble is going to be a beautiful kitchen and a nice large breakfast room, all within the next half hour.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Real projects for real homeowners with real solutions. Information and inspiration on improving your home from professional remodeler Danny Lipford.
These homeowners, like many homeowners, were looking for a way to expand their kitchen and breakfast area because that's really where most of us spend our time, particularly during those family gatherings. What we've suggested is to eliminate an existing brick patio and replace it with an addition that will allow us to remove this wall and expand the existing kitchen and the breakfast area and replace the brick patio area with the wood deck on the front. Of course, all of the process starts with the demolition. I hope you'll stay around for the rest. Welcome back to the show. Now, it only takes a few days to frame up an addition like this once the foundation work is complete. Our guys took a little over 4 days to build the walls and the new gable roof that ties in under the gable roof of the original house. And our roofers were out to install all of the shingles so that we have a nice dry spot to work now inside the addition. Our brick masons were back out to brick up all of the perimeter skirting around the addition so that it matches up to the original house, and we've even installed a little bit of the siding, which is a fiber cement siding, not the same siding that's on the house because the house has hardboard siding, but this matches perfectly and will last a lot longer. You can also see a lot of windows are going in this addition with a large opening here, another large opening on this side. We also have a window going in the addition there, and later on we'll be putting in another window on the back wall once we get together with our cabinet man to determine exactly how much of that wall space will be covered by the wall cabinets that'll go in later. Now, while the guys are waiting on the windows to arrive later today, they started working on our new deck. Now, this is an important element for the homeowners, particularly one that is physically challenged in a wheelchair and is really looking forward to being able to wheel right out onto the deck to get out into the nice sunshine. We've made the deck as level as we could to the addition so that that'll be very easy to wheel out in the wheelchair. Now, once this addition is complete and the wall between the addition and the original kitchen is removed to expand the kitchen, it's going to look great. Let's take a look at the plans. Now, once our windows are installed, we'll have a lockable addition. Then we can start focusing on the removal of this wall. Now, during the framing stages, we installed 2 LVL beams to support what is now being supported by this wall. So we're ready to take the wall down from that standpoint. But we want to wait as long as we can to remove this wall so that the homeowners can continue using their existing kitchen. But once this wall is removed, this will be a sizable space. Let me show you how the kitchen will lay out. The wall we'll be removing is right here. Now, once it's removed, you can see that the large new island is really dominant here in the kitchen. One of the things the draftsman did well is the original sink is here. He relocated it to here with the dishwasher beside it, so very little plumbing would have to be done. Then all the rest of the cabinets will all be new and a nice little breakfast table on this end. So the next step is to install the windows and to remove the wall. With the windows and doors in, our addition is secure and the crew begins the demolition of the existing kitchen. They remove the old cabinets and appliances before the removal of the old outside wall begins. With our old wall removed and all of the cabinets gone, you can really get an idea of how large this kitchen and breakfast room will be once it's complete. Now, over the last few days, our drywall installer and finisher have been busy installing all new drywall, and Mark's in the process of putting his second coat on all of our seams. So it won't be long, just a couple days, we'll be ready to start installing our trim around our doors and our windows and around the crown. Now, we decided to replace all of the drywall in the existing part of the kitchen because we had a little damage when we were removing the cabinets, as well as our electrician needed to have a few holes here and there to route some new wires for additional electrical work. Instead of having Mark patch all of these holes, we decided to replace all the drywall so that everything would flow together and really look nice once it was all painted. Now, we really want to keep this area open. The homeowners like this large area, but they also wanted to make sure they could open it up to the main part of the house. So installing the 2 3-foot pocket doors allow us to provide a 6-foot opening into the existing part of the house. And I'll bet they'll leave these doors open all the time. Now, when we come back, we'll show you as we progress along this project until it's 100%.
Get ready to review your fix-it list as Danny and home repair expert Joe Trewini show you this week's simple solution. Brought to you by DuPont Tyvek. Build it once, build it right.
Well, Joe, you're back in the shop again. What, refinishing some chairs, I guess?
Yeah, I am, but before I can refinish this one, Danny, you'll notice that it needs to be repaired. I got a really bad crack here.
Boy, that can hurt when you sit down on
Yeah,
that.
so what I'm doing is I'm just forcing in as much glue as I can, then I'm going to clamp it just to hold it. If you can put that in.
Okay, there you are. I'm ready.
Now, this in itself isn't going to be enough to hold the repair permanently because the glue joint will eventually fail, and then I'll be back to shop trying to fix this. But what I've learned is, here's a great trick, is if you help me flip this over,
okay,
is after you glue it and clamp it just to hold the joint tight, is I make up some hardwood cleats. These happen to be made out of oak. Yeah.
I got you.
And just put them right behind the legs, and you'll notice that these chairs are made up of individual boards, and they always split right on that seam. So what we want to do is just straddle all those seams and then glue and screw this down to the chair, the bottom of the chair.
Yeah,
in fact, there's one I finished early. If you want
I
to pull
can
that
see where
up.
that would work well. Oh, okay, all right. I see you've stained them and
Yeah,
made everything look real good.
Yeah, we stained them to match the chair, and then I also put a bevel around them just to give it a more finished look.
Looking great, Mark. Well, the homeowners will really be surprised with the progress they'll see when they get home this afternoon. They've been able to install most all of the wood doors, and Mark and his crew's in the process of trimming out all of the doors and windows we have. But the biggest change, the installation of most of the oak cabinetry. Now, this particular oak cabinet has a flat recessed door. It's all solid wood, and the cabinet guys have just finished installing one of the base cabinets that will be used for the cooktop and vent hood a little bit later on. Then you can see the little windows here. Temporarily, we have wood in there. In the next day or so, we'll install glass. So they have a nice little effect on this side of the kitchen, so at least a little bit of natural light will come in, and that'll kind of blend in well with all the other windows that we have in this kitchen. Now, of course, there's a lot of cabinets here, but there's more to come because a very large island cabinet will be installed tomorrow. Now, you can see the footprint that we've laid out with this paper template. We did this so that we could make sure we got these right where they needed to be, because the sink will be positioned right in the middle of the room. Now, this is a good idea if you're considering an island in your kitchen, is to really lay it out like we've done here. Of course, you have to consider some overhang area when the countertop's installed on an island cabinet like this, but make sure you have plenty of room between the edge of your cabinet and any adjacent cabinet. 36 inches should be considered a minimum space between any island and adjacent cabinets. Now, even though this is a large section and a large piece of cabinetry, it'll actually be brought in just 2 pieces. That means the pieces are a fairly good size, and the crew works carefully to navigate them from the truck into the new kitchen. The larger cabinet will sit on top of a pre-built base that will create a toe kick area around the cabinet. Now, once this is positioned and assembled, the cabinets themselves are set in place. The smaller cabinet attaches to the end of the base frame, and the 2 units are carefully lined up and squared. Then the electrical wires are routed through the base so that they'll end up at the right location on the island. The larger cabinet is carefully set in place and lined up with the base and the other cabinet. When the guys are satisfied everything is in the right location, they screw the cabinets together and to the base. A final check of level, and they're done. Once our cabinets were in place, including our large island cabinet, we were able to concentrate on a lot of the finishing touches, including the crown molding that ties everything together from the wall cabinets to the ceiling. After it was in place, our painter was out on the project to apply 1 coat of primer and 2 finish coats to get the kind of finish the homeowners wanted. He's also covered up most of the floors and the countertops so that he can continue the painting on the walls as well as all the many wood windows that have to be painted in this room. Now, it's been a busy week, and earlier in the week we had our ceramic tile contractor out and really installed a pretty floor here. 16-inch by 16-inch ceramic. Took a couple days to install the tile and then another day to apply all of the grout, another day to dry, and then we were ready for all the other trades to get back out in the kitchen to finish their projects. One of those trades, the same company that installed our cabinets, installed our plastic laminate countertops. Now, the homeowners chose the plastic laminate because it's one of the more economical ways to have countertops in your kitchen. But they decided here in this large island cabinet to go with granite, which will be installed in just a few days. You know, that's one of the many decisions you have to make when you're looking at remodeling your kitchen, all the different types of countertops that are available. Now, certainly here with going with plastic laminate actually saved a good bit of money in the overall cost. But there are a lot of other options that are available for countertops, and after our Best New Product segment, we'll look at some of those options.
Now let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out the best new products. Brought to you by the Home Depot.
Every home center has a section in their store dedicated to drywall, like drywall tools such as taping knives, sandpaper, joint compound, drywall tape, everything you need for a successful project. Now, in the past, if you've done a project around the home with drywall, you probably found that you had dust all over the entire house. Here's something that can help you out. It's called the Sand and Clean Aqua Air Filter. And basically, it's a 5-gallon bucket like you'd find at the paint store, and you have a lid on it with 2 different outlets, an inlet and an outlet on this side that actually attaches to a standard wet-dry shop vac. Now, it has a couple different outlets on it here depending on the model that you may have, and what it'll allow to do is it will draw air in through this 20-foot hose that's attached to this wire mesh sanding block. And behind it has a number of different outlets so that the air will pull through this wire mesh and the dust will go through this tube into what we'll have filled up about halfway with water. It'll drop down in the water and capture all of that dust, or at least 95% of it. Then after every couple hours of sanding, you change the water and you can continue right on with more sanding. Now, this whole thing only cost less than $40. This kitchen renovation and expansion is pretty much complete. Now, since we were here last, our granite contractor's been out and installed our large island countertop. In fact, it was so large, they had to bring it in 2 separate sections and seam it together right here in the middle, which they did a good job. It's hardly noticeable, especially since it is a darker type of granite. Now, around the perimeter, we used a plastic laminate, which really is fairly plain looking with just the white color, but we did that intentionally to really draw your attention to the island top. Now, this is fairly plain plastic laminate, but it doesn't have to be. Over the last decade, plastic laminate manufacturers have developed dozens upon dozens of new colors, designs, and textures. And while simple squared off edge treatments like the ones we're using here are still very popular, there's plenty of other choices, including bevels, a variety of wood edges, and full or partial radiuses on post-form countertops. Now, over the years, they've also made plastic laminate a lot more durable, but it still won't take the heat and the abuse that granite countertops will take. But it performs pretty well, considering it's 1/3 the cost of granite and other natural stone countertops. Now, another thing we're hearing a lot about, concrete countertops. And I think a lot of homeowners maybe think this is a great do-it-yourself project. But after talking to concrete countertop specialist Jock Corey, we realized it's a lot more involved than most people think.
Well, you know, concrete countertops can be fun when they're poured, and you can do a whole bunch of different things with them. You can do inlays, you can do edges, different types of edges, but they can also be difficult as well. Now, if you're a little better than a weekend warrior, then you would be able to take on a project such as this size. You got to have a strong back, and you better be able to finish the concrete, because once you pour it, you're there for 6 hours minimum. And we particularly pour on top of cabinets. These particular ones were poured in place on top for weight distribution purposes. Your cabinet has a lot to do with it. The sturdiness of your cabinets, the way that you brace them, and the way that you build your forms also have a lot to do with it. You can either do them on a pour top, which we do those as well, but the mixing of the concrete, the coloring, these things have to be exact when you're doing them. Once you pour this in place, I can promise you, you don't want to take it back out. Experience plays a role. I think it just comes with doing it over time. You just know, you can feel the texture, you know the color that you're looking at. Concrete's gonna dry lighter than it goes down. Some colors will dry a little darker, but what we see is just through the period of time, your aggregates with the concrete, cement is just the glue. Your sand, your aggregates, whether it be peat moss or sand or lemon peels or whatever you put with the cement, is what it actually bonds and gives it its strength. But the coloring comes with knowing that the liquid bonding is white. That's going to lighten your concrete, so you're going to have to go a little darker depending on your color. Each job is unique in itself. There's a new one every time, and none of them ever look the same. Everyone is different, and that's what I like, is the creativity about it, adding the colors at the end, the marbles, the textures, everything, and everyone is different. There's not a single set of countertops that matches.
The concrete countertops really are unique, but they're not cheap. They cost around $65 per square foot, which is even more expensive than granite and other solid surface materials. Now stay with us. After this Around the Yard segment, we'll show you more of this completed kitchen.
Now let's go outside for Around the Yard. Lawn and garden tips you can use straight from the experts. Brought to you by TimberTech Engineered Decking Systems. Less work, more life.
I'm here with Florida landscaper Rachel DeToro, who wants to tell us about something she calls landscape lasagna.
It's landscape lasagna. It's just a way to cook some good soil. And we're going to layer one organic material over the next.
Now, what did you start with here?
This is some very good mushroom compost. And it comes from the local mushroom farm where they grow the mushrooms you buy in the grocery store.
Okay, and then let's say the cheese layer that's going over the lasagna is what? What are you using there?
I love pine bark mulch. It's
Okay.
a byproduct of milling up your 2x4s and plywood.
Okay.
And you can get it finely ground. We call it soil conditioner sometimes when it's ground up very fine, but it just matches perfectly onto the compost.
Okay, and the next layer after that then?
Well, you can use anything that you have. If you have grass clippings from your lawnmower, or we have some seaweed that we collected from a beach nearby.
And you kind of dried this out a bit?
I dried it and rinsed it a little bit, and then we layered it right on.
Okay.
We let that stay.
Okay, and then next after that?
And then I would like to put another layer of compost with that.
Okay, and then after that, I assume the straw comes into play.
It does. You'd be ready to plant at any time. Cultivate it up a little bit, and it stirs it all together, and then you can put a nice layer of straw on top.
Okay, well here in Florida, of course, pine straw is everywhere, but what are some of the other methods or type top coatings that can be used from other parts of the country?
Leaf mulch is fabulous.
Okay.
You can just use any leaves that you have in your neighborhood.
Great, well, it sounds like it would work here, but I'm not sure it would be so tasty. All of the elements have come together to make the kitchen addition renovation a success. When you think about the size of this kitchen before and how dated it looked, you can see why the homeowners are so thrilled with their new kitchen. The additional space and windows have given the room a bright, open feeling, while the new trim, cabinets, and ceramic tile floor have really updated the look. And of course, the whole focal point of this room is the large granite countertop right on top of the island. Now, I hope you enjoyed watching this transformation, and hopefully we've shared some information with you that you can use around your home. I'm Danny Lipford. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to comment, like, and hit the bell icon so that we can notify you when new videos are posted.
And don't go anywhere, click around and continue the home improving fun.